Welcome to #Wednesdays Weekly, a weekly information session in collaboration with voluntary sector and public sector partners. Thank you for joining us for this session today on Get Energy Smart, delivered by Jessica Mellor from Citizens Advice. Over to you, Jessica.
Hi everybody, thanks for the introduction, Hayley. So I'm Jess from Citizens Advice in Manchester, and I'm the Energy Champion. I work on one project in particular, working with Electricity North West, and our main focus is trying to get people registered on the Priority Service Register, but then we also offer additional support throughout the energy process. So what I'll do is I'll go through a presentation I should say, now, which will hopefully give you a little bit of an insight about what the Priority Service Register is and then the additional support we offer. So I'm going to try and share my screen like I know what I'm doing. So Hayley, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Fantastic. So Energy Spring Clean. So obviously we've sprung into spring, so now it's trying to look at how you can use your energy or save as much energy as you can throughout this time and save money as well whilst you're doing that. So the content of the presentation is what's the Priority Service Register, who can register, and what's the advantages of going on the Priority Service Register with Electricity North West. What is the warm home discount, and can you apply for the warm homes discount, the different type of meters, and a little bit about smart meters, as well as what are the advantages of it, and to check switch and save, which is very important at the moment, and then switching when you're in debt, a little bit about Green Homes Grant and the Eco Scheme, some energy efficiency tips to save money, and then where you can find the help. So what is the Priority Service Register? So the Priority Service Register is a free service that Electricity North West provide. It offers additional support if and when there is a power cut. It also provides additional support for those who need a helping hand with certain vulnerabilities. So the question is, could you cope in a power cut? So who could register? Who is recognised as a vulnerable person and is eligible for the Priority Service Register? So there's kind of 8 qualifying factors to go on that Priority Service Register with Electricity North West, but they are quite wide. So to have a chronic or serious health condition, to use electrical medical equipment such as a ventilator, nebulizer, apnea monitor, store medication in the fridge. So for example, and this is one that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about when I think about power cuts and what that actually means, but if somebody, for example, has diabetes and they store their insulin in the fridge, they would need to make sure that they're on the Priority Service Register for this particular reason. Also, if you have certain cancers and you've got morphine, that's another reason that has to be stored in the fridge for a permanent amount of time. And if there is a power cut, that power cut could mean that medication isn't going to help you as best it can. Also having a stair lift, a care line, so like the little pull cords in people's properties, for additional support if they need help, and also an electric bed. So having poor mobility as well. So if you have poor mobility, meaning that you might not be able to answer the door as quickly, Electricity North West has a knock and wait system. So if the engineer realises that you may have mobility issues, they'll wait that little bit longer until you are able to answer the door. This can just make you feel a little bit kind of not rush you as much, so that'll also prevent like slips and trips as well within the property of instead of rushing. There's also temporary life changes. So for example, if somebody's just come out of hospital, or if they've been a victim of domestic violence, for example, and just moved into a new home and just feel that they need just that little bit of protection, but for a short period of time, and if they had a power cut, that would kind of affect them a little bit more than it would normally do, then we can definitely get them registered on that priority service register for that reason. There's also the age related, so being of pensionable age or have children under the age of 5. So just for the fact that you've now turned 66, for example, you can go on that priority service register. So for me, it's additional support, which I'll explain what it actually is in a second. But it's an additional support that you can get just by turning 66. So let's get you on there. And like I said, families who have children under the age of 5 can also get registered as well. There's also the communication difficulties. So that's having being hard of hearing or deaf, or having a visual impairment or blind, but also communication difficulties. So if English isn't your first language and you're getting a letter through the door to say that there's going to be a planned power cut, that may mean that you're not able to read 100% that there's going to be a planned power cut, and for example it's going to last 6 hours, which means the kids can't watch TV or your food might go off in the fridge. So having a letter sent in the language of your choice may mean that you are able to read that and fully understand what the implications of a power cut could mean. There's also the mental health side, so that's cognitive. So if somebody, for example, has Alzheimer's or dementia, they can go on the priority service register. So if that person is able to live by themselves, but every now and then may need a little bit more support, they can go on that. And also if they suffer from severe mental health conditions. I previously had a client who suffered from PTSD and she needed the lights on all the time. It made her feel a lot secure and would really set off her PTSD if she didn't have the lights on. So I made sure that she was on this for that specific reason. And then there's also the safety issues. So if, for example, somebody has oxygen in the property, they would need to know that there's oxygen in the property to make sure that it's safe if there was a power cut. So I hear you ask, what are the advantages of going on the priority service register? So Electricity North West communicate if they're aware of any planned or unplanned power cuts in your area. So that'll be via letter, call or text message. Now, one thing I think it's an amazing thing to do, especially in today's day where phone numbers are always changing and stuff like that. They'll only ever call you or text you from one phone number. So if you're kind of a little bit vulnerable in terms of you think you might get scammed, or you just feel a bit more secure by saving that phone number in your phone, you can save it as Electricity North West. And then if anybody else tries to contact you to say, I'm Electricity North West, and it's not that phone number, then you know for sure that it is, that it's potentially not them. So it's a really good way of feeling just that little bit more secure. They'll also contact you 6 days before any planned works in the area and send you a reminder the day before as well. So if there is planned work, you can say, right, well, my kids, for example, can go to their aunties or their friends, obviously when COVID permits that, to make sure that they've obviously got the welfare support that they need. And another thing that they also do is they have a password scheme. So this can make you just feel a little bit more secure when answering the door. So if you have certain vulnerabilities, or it just makes you think, especially with COVID at the moment, obviously engineers coming to the door, they'll only be able to enter the property wearing PPE. So that could be a full face mask, a visor, and the little white suits to prevent contamination. That can be really daunting, opening the door to that person. So having a password set up means that you are just feel a bit more secure in answering that door. Now, if somebody knocks on your door and says your password, my go-to password for clients, if they can't remember one, is bananas. Because somebody answering your door and saying bananas means it's definitely Electricity North West. And also having a nominated person to receive updates as well, and that can actually be up to 6 people. So the person that I mentioned previously, who maybe suffers from dementia, is able to live by themselves, but maybe has family and friends that come to help them maybe once a week or so, or do the food shopping for them. They're also able to receive a letter to say that there's going to be then planned power cuts. I may be able to receive a phone call to say there's going to be a power cut in your area, so this is what we can try and do to help resolve it. And then the last, but probably most importantly, is if there is a power cut, what can they do? So they're able to, if there is a power cut and it lasts for a long period of time, they're able to provide additional welfare support, such as hot drinks, food, blankets, flasks, analogue phones, torches, small generators, and alternative accommodation if needed, if it's a long period of time. With the small generator, for example, my friend was very heavily pregnant and due to be giving birth in the next few weeks or so, and she had a power cut and it was going to last overnight. So Electricity North West was able to provide her with a small generator just in case, although there was no medical equipment needed to be plugged in. It just made them feel a little bit more secure just in case she did go into labour, for example. So them small generators will be able to run the electricity for that property for a short period of time. So that is the electricity. So that is the priority service register, and to get registered on there, it's a dead simple form that you can fill in on the website, Electricity North West website, but also you can come through to Citizens Advice Manchester to get referred to our energy team, who are able to do that for you, who can also offer additional energy advice. So what I'm going to run through with you, but that can also be promoted to like your family and friends and say, well, I heard about this presentation and I thought it was really valuable. So get in touch with Citizens Advice Manchester and they'll also be able to go through this with you. So the Warm Homes Discount. Warm Homes Discount is a government scheme and it means that it reduces your electricity bill by £140. Now, the 2020 to 2021 version of this has closed. It closed in March. The money isn't paid directly to you, it's put on your bill. And you generally are able to apply for it between September and March. You can actually ask if you can have it off your gas bill, but you have to have both gas and electricity with the same provider for that. And to contact your energy supplier to find out a little bit more. But who is eligible generally? So each energy supplier has slightly different criteria, so it is worth getting in contact with your supplier. But generally, if you receive the guaranteed credit part of pension credit, you automatically receive it. However, if you're on a low income and maybe on a means tested benefit, you may also be eligible for it. You can go onto the .gov website and type in Warm Homes Discount, and that'll tell you all the suppliers that are able to offer the Warm Homes Discount. And a top tip is just to put it in your calendar every year. So if you apply for it once, make sure you do apply for it again, because that Warm Homes Discount is £140 off your energy bill, and it generally gets given between January and March. And that's when you've got your winter bill for over the winter period. So it might be that a little bit more when you're making sure that you are cosy and warm. So definitely do, if you are eligible for Warm Homes Discount, please do look to try and apply for it. If you're not comfortable or you're not able to complete the application, again, get in contact with Citizens Advice Manchester or your local Citizens Advice, and they will be able to help with that. So what are the different types of meters? So there's two types of meters. There's a credit meter and a prepayment meter. I'll just explain what the credit meter is first. So you pay for your energy after you use it. It's a credit. So regular meter reads are needed to be provided at least every 3 months. This can be done by yourself, or you can ask your energy supplier to read them for you if it isn't easy access. Now, currently with the pandemic, this isn't always accessible for the energy suppliers to do, just due to them not being able to access people's properties. They're only doing in case of emergencies, visits to people's homes, but hopefully this will be easing soon. And then payments for credit meters can be paid via direct debits, standing orders, payment cards, or you can just pay on the receipt of bill. And you can also pay like monthly or quarterly bills for that as well, in terms of when you receive your bill. And then what a prepayment meter is you prepay, as it says, for your energy before you use it. There's no need to offer meter reads to do this to your supplier, as you pay for what you use. And you always top up with a card or key at a pay point, pay zone, or your nearest post office. And if you're running out of credit, you can also go into something called your emergency credit. But once you hit that emergency credit, as soon as you top back up, you will have to pay that emergency credit back. So what is a smart meter? A smart meter is a new style of gas and electric meter, which is automatically sends meter reads to your energy supplier. And a smart meter can be both for prepayment and credit meters. So the advantages of a smart meter: so accurate billing for what you use, a better understanding of your usage to see in ways you can reduce it. A smart meter will also give you a broader range of tariffs offered in the market, some which can be a bit cheaper than the standard tariffs. And at a national level, smart meters are central to Britain shifting to a cleaner, more flexible energy system, and they're paving the way for more energy efficiency futures. So something that I'll probably touch on in a second, talking about prepayment, is that you receive an in-home display. So where it says about having a better understanding of your usage, that in-home display shows how much you use. So for example, if your boyfriend's on the Xbox or your children are on the Xbox, you can see that they've been on it for 6 hours and they've used like £2 or £3 worth of energy. So you can say, well, tomorrow you're only allowed on it for 2 hours, so it'll reduce your energy usage. You can visually see how much one item is using. Well, the energy as a whole, but the other things that are kind of so especially with working from home at the moment, I'm being really conscious, for example, about charging my laptops and my phone. So I'm working from home, so I can just plug my phone in whilst I'm working. I'm not going to be out of the house and not necessarily be able to charge my phone for long periods of time. So if it looks like it's getting a little bit low, plug it in. It'll only take an hour to actually charge, whereas previously we'd probably plugged our phones in whilst we were sleeping at night, and it was in for 8 hours using energy that we didn't need to use. So it's just kind of readjusting the way that you think about it. I've probably answered one of my energy efficiencies actually talking about that. Anyway, let's get back to this slide. So if you're a prepayment customer, a smart meter will also benefit you due to the fact that they offer more flexible ways of topping up. So they've been actually really quite valuable when it was locked down, for example, and certain people wasn't able to go out. If you were shielding, for example, you was able to just top up on your phone. You didn't have to go to the shop, and this really helped a lot of people in terms of not worrying about topping up and having to think about going to the shop or going to Tesco, for example, and there'd be a massive queue, and all you need is gas or electricity, for example. So it has been really beneficial for some people to have that flexibility in ways of topping up. You're also able to see your balance on the in-home display, so you won't unknowingly run out of credit. And you can also set an automatic top up, so you won't be left without any power, or if you're running out of credit at night and having to go to the shop instead of going to the shop when they're shut. So Q&A is about smart meters. How much do they cost? So there's no direct cost to you personally. Your smart meter will be installed by your energy supplier, and the cost is kind of rolled out already in the price of the billing. The same way the installation and maintenance of the meters are kind of added into that. can you switch supplier if you have a smart meter? So the answer is yes. Ofgem have created regulations to ensure that smart meters do not present an obstacle for consumers to be able to switch. However, they may lose the smart functionality. So I won't get really complex, but there was 2 types of smart meters. The first versions of them, so version 1, and they were started to be rolled out maybe 2014, maybe earlier than that. And they were smart enough to give all the meter reads to your new supplier, but then they wasn't necessarily smart enough to talk to a new supplier. So that's where we say that some may lose the smart functionality. However, the new smart meters that are being rolled out, version 2, are smart enough, so they can talk to your current supplier and say, yep, she's used this amount of electricity or gas, and when you switch in a year's time, because you want to make sure that you're getting the best deal, they'll also be able to talk to that new supplier as well and give the meter reads for you there as well. So if you rent, can I get a smart meter? If you pay directly to your energy supplier for the gas and electricity in your rented property, you can choose to have a smart meter. If your landlord pays the electricity bill in the property, they get the decision to whether they want a smart meter or not. But a smart meter basically just offers more of an accurate bill. So you're only paying for what you're using, which is really important. We don't want people not paying. There's 2 problems. You're not paying enough, which means that you'll get a larger bill later on, or you're paying too much, and then that may make your monthly payments for your food, for example, you're not able to afford as much food as what you actually need. So making sure that you are offering accurate meter reads if you don't have a smart meter, or looking into a smart meter to kind of take that responsibility away from you is a really good idea. So check, switch and save. So it's your choice who you buy your gas and electricity from. And this is really important to highlight at this moment in time, because I don't know if people have seen in the news, but the price cap for energy has just increased. So that means if you haven't switched your bills or your payments or your energy supplier in the last year or 2, you're probably on something called the standard tariff. If you're on that standard tariff from the 1st of April, for a credit meter, it will have gone up by £96. And if you're on a prepayment meter, that will have gone up by £86. Now, one thing I really try and promote and explain to clients when they're looking at switching and maybe get a little bit worried about the actual switching process is it's the same pipes that are coming into your property for gas and electricity. No matter who you're with, the same pipes, the same gas, the same electricity. And it's only at the flick of a switch on both of them that changes who you're with and how much you pay for that. It's not an engineer coming in fitting a new pipe, for example, which means you may disconnect. It's nothing like that. It's just a different button being pressed for gas and a different button being pressed for electricity. And that's how you can save the money. So make sure that you are trying to shop around. So that's if you're comfortable in moving to a new supplier. Like I said, it's the same supply, but they just charge you a different price. Or if you're a little bit wary of switching to a new energy company, but want to see if your current supplier can offer you a cheaper deal or tariff. And there's also just changing the way that you pay can save you money. So for example, how I talked about paying on receipt of bill, or it might be even a quarterly bill that you pay. If you move to a direct debit, there's generally a direct debit discount that you can receive with a lot of suppliers, so do look into that as well. So to check, switch and save, by starting to do this, you should see what meter you've got, so a credit or a smart meter. Find out if you have any exit fees with your current supplier. So if you're within a fixed tariff there may be something called an exit fee. So the fixed tariff is like a contracted period that you have to be with that supplier for. If you leave early, there's that exit fee. So it's generally between like £20 and £50 per supplier. And what we'd probably advise is to maybe wait until that contract period is finished until you look at moving. But if you haven't switched in the last year or two, you're probably on that standard tariff. And that standard tariff, there's not normally an exit fee in there, because that's kind of just the general tariff that they move you to once you've come out of that contract. And the standard tariff is generally the most expensive tariff that you can be on, although the name says standard. And like I said, you can also just look to see what tariffs your energy supplier are offering. And obviously, working at Citizens Advice Manchester, we have our own comparison website. We use, we update the star rating every 3 months that are on there. So at the side, there's star ratings about the customer service. And also on the other side, I'll actually try and load it up. In fact, we'll do that at the end. And then I will be able to show you the star ratings that I'm talking about here. But basically, it gives you a breakdown of who can save you the most money once you input your data. And you can also, at the side, there's a little bit about if there's certain things that you want. So for example, if you want to be able to, if you're eligible for the Warm Homes discount, and again, you want to obviously save money by switching, but also you're entitled to the Warm Homes discount, so you want to make sure that you receive them boxes as well. And then how to actually switch. So if you decide to change your tariff, you need to contact your supplier to arrange this, and this can be done via a comparison website like ourselves, or getting in touch with the supplier directly. And then if you move to a new supplier, your new supplier will update your existing supplier. They will let them know. And just when you're due to switch, just make sure you give that meter read so that you can provide that to the new supplier. And then they'll let the old supplier know that you've give that meter read on that date, so they need to stop charging you and they can start charging you from that date, and it just makes it a lot of a cleaner process. So what happens if you're in debt with your supplier? So if you're on a prepayment meter and you owe less than £500 per fuel, you can still switch and the debt will transfer over with you. If you don't have a prepayment meter, so if you're on that credit meter, the supplier can stop you switching until the debt's paid off. Now, generally, like, you'll always be, because of the way that a credit meter is set up, you pay for after you use it. So you'll always have a final bill anyway to pay until you move. And generally you'll pay that and they'll let you move. It's just if it's a larger debt, more than 28 days old, that they may keep you and saying that you have to pay that off until then. So let's talk energy efficiencies. So energy efficiencies are ways of just being a little bit more careful about how you use the energy in your home. So in the kitchen, using a bowl to wash up rather than a running tap. To reduce your washing machine usage by 1 cycle a week. That's, I don't know if you've got children, but I know from not personal experience, but family experience, that you might do a wash for your children, they put it on the floor and then they can't be bothered cleaning that up, so they just put it straight back in the washing basket for you to do, and it's making sure that they're putting them away so they're not ended up another cycle's worth of washing. Also filling your kettle up for as much water as you need, and all that can save you up to £36 a year in the kitchen. A dripping tap can actually also use 5,300 litres of water, so making sure that your tap's turned off properly and that the washers are tightly turned to prevent the dripping. In your bathroom, spending a minute in the shower each day for a family of 4 can save £75 on your energy and your water bill. A running tap can waste 6 litres of water every minute. So turning your tap off whilst you're brushing your teeth or shaving or even washing your face. This is one that grates on me. My boyfriend is always leaving the tap on whilst he's brushing his teeth. So I'm always like, turn it off. And then replacing inefficient shower heads with water efficient ones can save a household around £70 a year from the gas bill, as well as £115 a year on the water bill. On lighting, so turning your lights off when you're not using them. If you switch the light on, if you just switch the light off for a few seconds, you will save more energy than it takes to start it up again. This will save you around £14 a year on your annual energy bill. So instead of going out of a room and keeping the light on and going, oh, well, I'm going back in a minute, if you turn it off and come back in and turn it back on again, that will save more energy than leaving it on for a longer period of time. And replacing your light bulbs. So if you can replace them to energy efficiency LEDs, on average, that can save you around £35 a year on your bill as well. So I've touched on this one before, spoiler alert. Turning your appliances off standby can save you around £30 a year. And remember to not leave your laptops and mobile phones on charge unnecessarily. And then your heating, so saving on heating by turning the main thermostat down by 1 degree can save you 10% of your energy bill. Making sure that your home is warm enough during the cold weather, as cold weather can also damage your health. So we say on average between 18 and 21 is the average temperature for a property. Between the 18 and 16 is okay if you're like doing the vacuum, for example, or you're running around in the house, or the kids are playing, for example. Anything below 15 will cause some damage to your health, so please don't try and let it go below that. There is ways of trying to increase the energy efficiencies of your home, and do get in contact with Citizens Advice if you want a little bit of advice regarding that. Installing a room thermostat, a programmable or thermostatic radiator valve. These controls can save you around £75 a year. So a room thermostat, if you've got a movable thermostat, so a lot of them used to be on the wall, whereas the new boilers now are movable ones. Have it in the room that you're in the most. So for example, ours is in the living room, and that tells me the temperature of what it is there, and that's the one that I program everything to. And if you can program it, if it's a programmable one, try and do to different temperatures throughout the day, and timing as well is a really good idea, because if you're not in, if you're going to work or you're going and dropping the kids off, and then you go food shopping every Tuesday, so you're out of the house all day, let's program it in to say it doesn't need to be on that day. That can fall at maybe the 16 degrees, for example. And closing your curtains at dusk can to stop the heat escaping through the windows, and check if there's any drafts around the doors or windows. And then draft proofing windows and doors, and blocking cracks in the floors and skirting boards, can save around £20 off your energy bill as well. So the Green Homes Grant. Now I will talk about this, but it has just been confirmed that the general public can't apply for it anymore. However, you can get in contact with your local authority and they may be able to still apply for it. So I have kept it in, because I do think it's important for, if you do need help, that you can still look to apply for help. Now, there may be a new version of this coming out, but I'll explain what the Green Homes Grant is for now anyway. So Green Homes Grant is a government scheme offering vouchers towards the cost of installing energy efficiency improvements in your house. You have to either be a homeowner or a residential landlord to apply for the Green Homes Grant, and the vouchers will cover 2/3 of the cost of the improvement, up to a maximum of £5,000. If if you or somebody in your household is in receipt of certain benefits, you may be eligible for the voucher to cover 100% of the cost, and that maximum value is £10,000. Now it's broken down into 2 measures. So that measure is the primary measure is insulation and low carbon heating. So that insulation's roof, flooring, cavity wall insulation, external wall insulation, roof, loft insulation. I knew there was another one. And then there's low carbon heating. The secondary measures is for windows, doors, and heating controls. The windows is to just turn from single glazing to double or triple glazing. You can't have it if it's double glazing and they've gone. I think the technical term is if they've got a bit of condensation, and unfortunately you can't apply for this for that. But it's just if there's single glazing. And the amount you get towards the cost of the secondary measures can't exceed the primary measure. So for example, if you get £2,000 towards your primary measure, you can't get more than £2,000 for your windows, doors or heating controls. And then the eco scheme. The eco scheme is the energy company obligation, and unlike other schemes, eco isn't a government grant. It's an obligation placed between larger energy companies to support households installing energy improvements. So you can apply for this if you're a homeowner rented from a private landlord or renting from a private landlord. And if you rent, you must have the owner's permission to do the work. Or you can also apply if you live in social housing, although that's a little bit trickier, so do get in contact with your housing association for that. And they can help you with insulation works, for example, loft or cavity insulation, and they can also help replace or repair your boiler or upgrade your heating system. And most benefits are able to make you eligible for the eco scheme. Now I've got first-hand experience of the eco scheme. My grandma needed a new boiler, hers had completely gone. It just wasn't turning on at all. It was over 35 years old, so that's probably the reason. And eco, she was in receipt of attendance allowance, which meant that she was able to get a new boiler, and the local authority also was able to help with the funding of the pipes. So there's normally a little bit of a cost for the pipe work, although the local council was able to help with that. So do look into the eco scheme, and that is still running. Like I said, the Green Homes grant is running, but it is only local authority help that you can get for that now. And then just to summarise, the local support that you can get, obviously this is Action Together's is in Oldham, Tameside and Rochdale, so there is a local citizen advice for all of them. But this project is specifically for the Manchester Citizens Advice, and to get in contact with us, it's 0808 278 7800. However, if you do have connections with the local Citizens Advice, so the Rochdale, Tameside or Oldham, you can get in contact with them and they can do a referral over to us. And this is just for us to be able to speak to you about all of the what we've gone through in here. And if you don't feel comfortable, for example, applying for that Warm Homes discount, or you might need a little bit more support in check, switch or save, we can help with that and talk you through how to do that. So please have a look on there. And then I've just also popped on the LEAP's contact details of the phone number, because they can also help apply for the eco scheme as well, and the Green Homes grant links there as well. So that is the end of the presentation.